welcome to or back to my channel. My name is Hannah and today I will be doing my April reading wrap up. This month was such a good reading month. I read 6 books and I didn't have anything below a 3 stars. A little bit all over the place in terms of genre, but most of them included some romance, and I am so excited to share this with you. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first book I read in the month of April was Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This is a small town cowboy romance following Emmy as she returns to her hometown after a horse riding incident and reconnects with her brother's best friend Luke in the bar that he now owns. And from there, I think you can probably guess what happens. They fall in love, etc, etc, etc. How they do that, I want to leave a mystery to you, but I will say the hype around this is much deserved. I love this book. I gave it 4 stars. The writing at first was a little iffy for me. It was like definitely a different writing style than I'm used to or that I really like, but this was just so cute, very fun, very fast. It was very relatable to me, or at least Emmy was very relatable to me. I've also just moved back to my hometown, and the feelings that she experiences in this book I also experienced, and yeah, it just definitely added to my love of this book. I'm not quite keen to pick up the sequel Swift and Saddle just quite yet, but I definitely will in the future. But yeah, this was a great start to the month. Very fast, very quick. Please read if you haven't already, because I know it's been floating around. All right, the next book that I read in the month of April was These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I know this book is also very popular, especially on BookTube. I've seen it a lot. This is a YA Romeo and Juliet retelling following the 2 heirs of rival gangs in Shanghai. And basically the story starts when they are kind of forced to work together to stop a monster that is ravaging both gangs and the city of Shanghai itself. It's got some political intrigue, it's mystery. Some would say it's romance, but I did not get that at all from this book. I mean, maybe towards the end there was a little bit of romance, but quite frankly, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be going into it. I really thought that because it was a Romeo and Juliet retelling, we were going to get a lot of angst between the 2 main characters, but that just didn't end up happening. In fact, I honestly think that I could not feel any tension at all between these 2 main characters throughout the book, even when the romance did kind of get started. I'm not sure why that was, but I know that once I kind of let go of the romantic aspect or expecting the romantic aspect of it, I enjoyed this book a lot more. I gave it 3.5 stars on Goodreads and on, well, not on Goodreads because Goodreads doesn't do half ratings, but I gave it 3.5 stars on Storygraph, if you follow me on there. I would honestly, now that I've had some time away from it, lower that to a 3 stars. I just didn't connect to any of the characters whatsoever. I just thought the story was kind of, it was interesting. The monster aspect was interesting, but everything in between was kind of a slog, and I found myself just waiting and waiting for the next shock value event to just propel me forwards until we got to the next shock value event. I did have one character that I really liked, Marshall, and he kind of has a maybe romance with a character named Benedict, and that would be the only reason, honestly, that I would pick up the sequel to this book, unfortunately. It's not that I am fully done on Chloe Gong as an author. I would definitely try out more of her work before I made any decisions about whether or not we mesh, but I just really did not love this book, and because characters are such a big thing to me and being able to connect with them and love them, I just unfortunately did not love this book. But I think if you are going to read this book, go into it with the idea that it is more of a mystery than it is a romance. Okay? All right, moving on. So the second and third books that I read this month are part of a series, so I'm going to keep them together. And that was Between Commitment and Betrayal by Shane Rose and Between Love and Loathing by Shane Rose. And these are the first and second books in the Hardy Billionaires series, I guess, because there is 3 books out right now. I think there's another one coming out at the end of this year, maybe. Don't quote me on that. So I read these books partially while I was reading These Violent Delights, because These Violent Delights was like just kind of a slog for me, unfortunately. Anyways, already harped on that. I did not know what to expect going into these books. I'd had them on my TBR for a while because of a particular quote that I saw on TikTok, but I just had never picked them up. I'm not usually in the mood for billionaire romance. But you know what? When Your Girl is Broke was very unserious, very fun. I think if you love possessive MMCs, very stereotypically masculine MMCs, or ones that give the vibe of, if this was in real life, I'd have a restraining order against you, but it's cute because it's in the book. This book is definitely for you. The first one is arranged marriage, and the second one is fake dating. And yeah, there's really not much to say about them. They're just so cute. I gave the first one on Storygraph, I gave it a 3.75. I would honestly raise it to a 4-star. And the second one I gave a 3.5 stars. So I didn't enjoy that one quite as much, but it was still really fun. It was really great. And yeah, check it out. Not much to say on that one, or on those two, but they were grand. They were great. Moving on to my 5th book of the month. This one was my first 5-star read of the month. It was one that has been sitting on my shelf for almost a year, and I have never had a desire to pick it up. I quite frankly was about to unhaul it, and then randomly this month I had the urge. I capitalized, and thank God that I did, because it was so great. And that book was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This book follows Addie LaRue as she makes essentially what is a deal with the devil to be free, and he fulfills that by making her completely invisible to everyone and everything around her. And we follow her life as she goes from, I believe, 1720s France all the way up to 2014, where she meets a man named Henry, who is the first person in those 300 years to be able to remember her. And the book kind of goes back and forth, and we figure out why he can remember her, and we also follow her relationship essentially with the devil. This book was so great. I think my favorite part about this book was the complexity of the characters. I didn't feel like any of them followed kind of the stereotypical tropes that I would have maybe expected or have seen a lot recently in books. They were all very kind of original, and I understood their motivations. In fact, even the one that I liked the least, which was Henry, I found him to be incredibly relatable. I will say that the writing is very flowery, it's very lyrical, it's very literary fiction-esque. So if you don't particularly like that, it can slog at times, but trust me, it'll create a picture in your head like none other. And yeah, loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Honestly had me rethinking what I thought a 5-star book was, and yeah. 5 stars for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I cannot wait to pick up more of V.E. Schwab's work. Let me know in the comments which series I should start with. I'm considering between the Vicious, I'm not sure if it's a duology or a trilogy, and the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. So let me know in the comments which you think I should start with, but I'm definitely ready to get into more V.E. Schwab. And then the final book that I read in the month of April was a book that I quite frankly wasn't sure I was going to like. It was kind of in the way of like Magnolia Parks, where I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but instead of hating it and DNFing it, I think it's become probably one of my favorite books of the year. And that book is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I know this book has been absolutely flying around Book Talk and BookTube, and I know the next book in the series, Taming 7, just came out. So I am so glad that I picked this up. I wasn't sure if I really would have liked a high school romance because I am 23, quite a bit past high school, and I can sometimes find YA to be a bit, I don't want to say juvenile, but it's just not my particular taste. And especially with romances, I think it can kind of get a little dicey, but this was really, really great. This is really fast. It's 600 pages, but don't let that intimidate you at all. It is such a fast read. I was reading probably on average 100 to 200 pages a day of this, which is incredibly unusual for me. I'm a very slow reader, and I was flying through this. So this book is an Irish rugby romance set in 2005, and it follows our main character, Shannon Lynch, as she transfers from the public high school college to the private Tommen College. And there she meets Johnny Kavanagh, who is the most famous, I don't want to say famous, he's the most popular and gifted rugby player at the school. They meet through an unfortunate incident, and from there we kind of watch their relationship build and grow. And we also follow Shannon as she deals with some pretty dark stuff at home. This book just had me in all my feelings. I was crying, I was laughing. It just gave me such nostalgic Wattpad vibes, but better than Wattpad in some ways as well. This book definitely takes you back to the days of first kisses and first periods and the intensity of first loves, and I thought that was all just so cute and adorable, and it just had me kicking my feet. And then it would immediately transfer to something very, very dark and I'd be crying about it. And I just, when a book can make you feel that much, you know that it's good, you know that it's for you. And I immediately, on the recommendation of another book talker / booktuber, went out and got the second one because I heard that this book ends on a cliffhanger, and yes, it did. Please heed that advice. If you're getting halfway through this book and you love it, go ahead and get yourself the second one. It's also on Kindle Unlimited if you have that. My recommendation is that you really take a look at the trigger warnings before you pick up this book. The stuff that is dealt with in this book, I think that can be harmful to some people or overly intense for some people, and I don't think this is a book that you should go in blind to. So just keep that in mind, protect yourself, read the trigger warnings, and then enjoy. That is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh, and yeah. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I am out of school now, so I can film some more. I'm about to actually film my May TBR, so keep an eye out for that. But you will be seeing me a lot more throughout the month. I thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you next time.